Welcome to my channel. I'm Dr. Romano. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the stock market. And I'm going to go and walk you through which stocks to buy. So because we have a crisis now with our currencies around the world, that's a collapse of our currencies, okay? And this is okay, but of course you have to prepare yourself. And how you could do that and how you could take advantage of that is what I'm going to tell you. As I've mentioned, in September of 2021, I had mentioned that the stock market would take a major dive around July, mid-August, no later than the first week of September. But it turns out it was actually the second week of September officially. I made that prediction last August of 2021 when I did my market analysis. And I have to do that every year, and I've done it last month in August of 2022. And for 2023 is going to be I don't even want to talk about it right now, but it's going to be a very tough year. Once you realize how you could take advantage of what will happen, you will make a lot of money. Let's focus on taxation. The government passed laws that they're going to increase the taxes full-fold. In other words, they're trying to basically come up with more money to pay for the deficit and for the bills of the government. Even if they charge us 55% flat rate tax, it will never be enough to pay the $30 trillion that they owe now. The only way to fix that is to bring back trade to America, and that's what's happening. So if you calculate how much America buys from overseas, and you simply put a tariff on all of that of 3%, that 3% will literally pay off our deficit in a couple of years, maybe like 4 to 5 years. But it never happens like that. So that's why they're trying to raise taxes, etc. And so if they raise taxes, how is that going to affect everyone and our markets? Well, people are going to have less money to spend, which means that corporations are going to have to lay off people. That's really going to affect the real estate market, because more layoffs means less people will be able to afford their house mortgage. But right now, we're not seeing those numbers with the layoffs. It's almost like there's not enough people in our workforce. Well, that's happening because as manufacturing comes back to America, even if it's one or two companies could be a couple thousand people, right? And so that's a reason why we are having so many people. Basically, they're importing labor right now. That's what's actually happening for the long term, the next 4 to 5 years. Because of enormous amount of factories will be producing products in America, meaning that you and me, the average person, you don't need $1 billion to start a factory. All you need is a basement or a warehouse, and you can start buying 3D printers, or you buy one professional 3D printer for $300,000, and it could literally print 500 cups in a day, or 500 items, or whatever, 500 tools, or whatever it is, depending on how big the tools are. Before we continue the video, please remember, if you want to say thank you, Anthony, do thumbs up. It's right there. Doesn't hurt and it doesn't bite. Thank you so much. And so back then, to make 500, let's say, screwdrivers back in the 1950s, could you imagine how many people you needed in a warehouse to do that? You needed the person to cut the thing, to do this, to do that. But as of today, we don't need all those people. And so what's happening now, they're actually importing too many people to work, yet there's still a shortage on the labor force. That's going to change very fast. Trust me. Real estate brokers are not able to sell houses because nobody wants to lower their prices 20% yet. But you're going to see a change that's happening. Think about higher taxation in America. What do corporations have to do to balance their income and their expenses? They're going to make more expenses. Believe it or not, they're going to open up other companies to get those tax write-offs, how will that affect our global markets? Well, think about this. If the US dollar stays higher than, let's say, European currency or any other currency, well, wouldn't it be easier for the US corporation to invest overseas, where you could actually buy more land, you could buy a business for cheap, 25% discount? Exactly. So what you're going to have is a major inflow of capital, I believe, outside America, from American corporations. And for those corporations that, let's say, they did buy up American real estate and they were Chinese owned, well, you're going to see a lot of that capital leave the country as well, because of the US dollar being so strong that they could literally buy triple what they can in China, or let's say the Middle East or Europe, wherever. Europe is having a discount on their real estate. So wouldn't it be better off buying real estate with American dollars in Europe somewhere, like, I don't know wherever? I can't tell you where. So that's something that's going to be a change. Now, as for the stock market, you need to focus on stocks and companies that supply manufacturing in America. But you also have to take advantage of, let's say, the yachting business. Believe it or not, the yachting business is a business that's been growing incredibly. There's more super yachts in the world than there ever. And so think about how Americans play a role in that. If a corporation could buy a yacht at a discount, build it in Turkey, let's say, and receive, of course, to make it into a charter company and rent it out and literally take the losses just to reduce their American taxation. Okay, so in other words, American corporations need taxation benefits to reduce their taxes, etc. So what do? You invest in another company, make losses, etc. And so think about, let's say, the charter environment, how that will play a role. Because if right now discount on foreign currencies, well, foreign goods are going to be cheaper. You should also be focusing on high-end luxury goods. Because of the US dollar being so stronger than other currencies, yes, we still have the rich in America, and we always will, but you could afford to buy something that's European or for somewhere else that's cheaper now. And think about the travel industry, how much cheaper it will be to go to Europe or other countries. So once again, you're going to see a lot of traveling being done outside the country because the dollar is stronger. You're going to be buying real estate outside the country because you're receiving the 25% or 30% discount, whatever it will be, to buy real estate, let's say in Europe, maybe Italy. And they're having their real estate slowing down because of COVID, but it actually started before COVID. So literally, you could pick up a property that is 70% discounted compared to 5 years ago. Exactly. So a lot of capital is going to be going overseas as well. And the real estate market, a lot of people are going to be taking their profits now. Right now, you could get a really big discount in buying up those stocks, those companies, the yachting companies that sell all the parts to the yacht manufacturers, or the yacht manufacturers in a country where the currency will go down a lot more compared to, let's say, the European Union, Turkey, other countries that are still producing yachts, and so forth. But I'm using the yacht as an example because that's a huge industry. Yachting overseas is far greater than in America. And people don't realize that, even in the Caribbean. And this is where you have a lot of rich companies that go and buy those yachts up, that go and buy everything in that industry, and they use it as a tax incentive. For example, the aerospace industry. Any companies now that are basically making the parts to the plane, to create that plane, that private jet, or the jet industry, whether it's the computer simulation, the new jet engines, whatever it is. Again, companies now will have to take advantage of all those tax deductions, whether or not they like it or not. You could simply open up another LLC, buy a private jet, and use it as a charter jet. Meanwhile, it's not going to pay its bills. So again, you create expenses. Just like in the yachting industry, just because you create a charter yacht and you buy a $100 million yacht or $80 million, it doesn't mean that you're going to make the $8 million a year that it costs to actually keep that yacht going through renting weekly rentals, through the charter business. No, you're not going to make that up. People do that because they need a tax deduction. And unfortunately, that's the way our system here is in America, that people could reduce their taxes in all different ways. And it's very sad that the average worker who has limited resources to reduce their taxes, having 5-10 children is not going to help you reduce your taxes if you're making $5-6 million a year, etc. And of course, people who are making $1 million a year, they're actually paying more taxes than someone who's making $30,000 a year because of the tax deductions that we are able to use, such as your health expenses. And the list goes on and on and on. So if you make $50,000 and you're using all those tax deductions as an employee, you're actually paying less tax than someone that's making $5 million a year, $10 million a year, $500,000 a year. Exactly. So believe it or not, they're the ones that are paying more taxes. And if they have more money in their pockets, guess what they do with it? They spend it. They spend it on products. Who makes those products? Exactly. We, the workers. So it's a cycle, and it's a very important cycle that we have here in America. So if we went to a flat rate tax, that would be a devastation in our labor force, because corporations won't have to buy that private jet. Corporations won't need to buy that charter jet, that charter yacht, or another company, etc. They could just pay the flat rate taxes. If they make $100 million a year, they pay the $5 million a year and they're done. They keep the rest. So thank God our system is so resilient. And this is another reason why the American government and the American way of life is so much resilient compared to Europe, China, Japan, any of these countries, compared to Russia, because the money is continually invested and it's moved around. And so this is why I'm saying that the stock market globally is, you're going to see a lot of wealth being made with the change of the different industries. Again, now what you're seeing is you're seeing a fight between the farmers trying to produce corn to make ethanol. That's why our food went up so high. It has nothing to do with inflation. It has to do with the farmers not producing the vegetables because they don't make enough money. They make more money selling corn. That's going to change, and you're going to see a major problem with that, because all those corporations that bought thousands of acres and they're all producing corn, they're just going to be left to dry overnight because they're not going to be able to sell that eventually as more batteries are produced. And it's no longer probable to say, oh, once battery technology comes about. No, battery technology is here today, and it's come quite far. You have the nuclear battery that uses nuclear waste. That battery will never need a charge. Never in our lifetime. It will last 26,000 years. You should look it up and invest in companies that you think that would actually supply that industry. Industries that were once dealing with nuclear waste, maybe the company that transports it, invest in that. The company that used to take the nuclear waste and do whatever and store it, invest in that company. So there's a lot of changes that are happening. Now is not the time to be putting your capital into the investment bank and letting them manage your capital. They're down 20-30%. That's a disgrace. Whereas hedge funds, not all hedge funds are down 20% or 30%. No, a lot of them are actually either zero or they're down 10%. Now, of course, when you have thousands and thousands of hedge funds compared to only a handful of investment banks, you'll see the difference. But that's why our markets are so efficient, because we have thousands of hedge funds trading as opposed to only a handful of investment banks trading the capital. And so that's why our markets are more efficient today. That's why you're not seeing a stock market that just overnight just drops one day. The drop started on January 1st of 2022. On the chart, you'll see basically the stock market has gone down since then. And I did tell you about that. I did mention that in the video. You could also look in September in my profile, the videos that I made in September of 2021. Also in December of 2021, I made videos making my stock market predictions. That's what's happening. You need to focus on which companies, I can't tell you which companies, that just because you like something and you feel comfortable with it, it doesn't mean that that's the right thing to do. When you invest in the stock market, you have to use a logical mind. You're not married to it like a house or a car. It doesn't work like that. So just because you like Tesla, which I like Tesla, and Tesla is a good company, and it will continue to grow with the advent of the nuclear battery, that's a great company, yeah. But there's many other companies that you've never heard about. And I hope that you take everything I say and you listen to me and you do what you have to do to make those profits. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember, if you want to subscribe to my channel, just press the button and do thumbs up if you want to say thank you, Anthony. Thank you so much.